This is a story about a wise village elder who faked his poverty for months, collecting scraps just to send a message to his city-born son, waiting to see if blood remembers kindness without the cushion of wealth. In the heart of Amalfi, where the red earth drank the sun and the palm trees whispered ancient secrets, lived an elder named Chief Azudo. His name was spoken with reverence, not just for the weight of his years, but for the wisdom that flowed from him like the steady waters of the Niger. He was the custodian of traditions, the living library of their lineage, a man whose word could calm a storm or start a festival. But for months, a different story was being woven about him, a tale whispered in the marketplace and discussed over gourds of palm wine. Chief Azuto, the great lion of Amalfi, had seemingly fallen into destitution. He was seen at the break of dawn, not in his regal wrapper and feathered cap, but in clothes so tattered they seemed to weep. His hands, which once held the sacred OFO staff, were now stained from rummaging through discarded heaps. He collected scraps, plastic bottles, bits of metal, forgotten pieces of fabric, anything the villagers cast aside. They watched with a mixture of pity and confusion. Had the gods turned their faces from him? Had his famed barns, once overflowing with yams, become barren? The whispers followed him like his own shadow, a constant hum of sorrow for their fallen leader. But this was a performance, a meticulously crafted masquerade. Every scrap he collected, every pitiful glance he endured, was a deliberate act in a play only he understood. He would take his meager collection to a small kiosk on the edge of the village, owned by a man who knew his secret. The small coins he earned were not for food, for his home still held abundance in secret, but for one singular purpose: to buy airtime for an old, battered phone. Each day he would painstakingly type a message, his fingers, more accustomed to the feel of a ceremonial staff, fumbling with the tiny keys. The messages were sent to one person, his only son, Camzio. Born in Amalfi, but raised in the sprawling concrete maze of Lagos, Camzio knew little of the village beyond childhood memories of festivals and the taste of his grandmother's oaf anabu. He was a man of the city now, a successful architect who designed skyscrapers that touched the clouds, a world away from the mud-brick homes of his ancestors. He lived in a realm of polished glass and swift transactions, where a man's worth was measured by the car he drove and the company he kept. Chief Azudo's messages were simple, almost childlike. "My son, the sun was hot today. My back aches." Another day, "Camzio, I found a bottle that shone like a diamond." It was a good day. And another, "I have not eaten well. Pray for your father." He never asked for money directly, never mentioned his supposed fall from grace. He was planting seeds, watering them with humility, waiting to see what would grow in the soil of his son's heart. He was testing the bloodline, probing to see if the values of kinship and compassion, the core of their Igbo heritage, could survive the dazzling allure of the city. In his sleek Lagos apartment overlooking the Eco-Atlantic, Camzio would read the messages with a flicker of annoyance. His father, the man he remembered as a towering figure of strength, was now sending him daily reports of a scrap collector's life. It was baffling and, frankly, a little embarrassing. He sent money, of course. He would tap his banking app and transfer a sum that was trivial to him, but a fortune in the village. He did this not out of deep concern, but out of a sense of detached duty, the way one pays a recurring bill. He imagined his father was simply old and lonely, his mind wandering. Weeks turned into months. The messages from Chief Ezudu continued, each one a small, humble stone dropped into the vast ocean of his son's life. Kamzio's replies were brief, often just an "Okay, Papa," or "I've sent you something." He was busy, always busy. There were deadlines to meet, clients to impress, a life to be lived. The village and its seemingly senile old man felt like a distant dream, a chapter from a book he had long since closed. One evening, as rain lashed against his penthouse windows, Kamzio received a different kind of message. It wasn't a text. It was a picture. It showed his father, frail and hunched, sharing a small piece of roasted corn with a street urchin, the boy's eyes wide with gratitude. There was a profound tenderness in the image, a quiet dignity that transcended the tattered clothes and the grimy setting. For the first time, Kamzio didn't see an old man complaining. He saw a father. He saw a chief, even in rags. Something shifted in him then. It was a slow, creeping realization, like the dawn breaking over the hills of Amaiofia. The money he sent was a shield, a way to keep his father's poverty at arm's length, to absolve himself of real responsibility. But the picture showed him that his father wasn't just poor. He was still living a life of meaning, sharing what little he had. He was still Chief Ezudo, a giver, a leader. The shame Kamzio felt was sharp and sudden. It wasn't shame for his father's poverty, but for his own blindness. The next morning, Kamzio did not go to his office. He packed a bag, got in his car, and began the long drive to Amaiofia. He drove through the night, the city lights receding in his rearview mirror, replaced by the deep, enveloping darkness of the countryside. He arrived as the village was stirring to life, the air thick with the smell of wood smoke and damp earth. He found his father not in the grand family compound, but by the roadside, sifting through a pile of refuse. Kamzio got out of his car, his expensive suit a stark contrast to the scene. He walked towards the old man, his heart pounding a rhythm of guilt and love. "Papa," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Chief Ezudo looked up, his eyes clear and knowing, meeting his son's. He slowly straightened his back, and the feebleness he had so masterfully portrayed seemed to melt away. He dropped the scrap metal in his hand, and a slow, proud smile spread across his face. He didn't speak of the test or the deception. He simply opened his arms. As Kamzio fell into his father's embrace, smelling the scent of dust and morning dew, he finally understood. Wealth could build skyscrapers, but it could not build a home in the heart. Kindness was not a transaction, it was a bond. In the arms of the scrap collector who was a king, the city-born son remembered the language of his blood. The story of Chief Ezudo and his test became a new folk tale, whispered to children under the moonlight. A reminder that the greatest inheritance is not what is in the barns, but what